Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the proceedings of the Grand Rapids Public School Board of Education. Today is Monday, May 6th. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reverend Matias, please take the roll.
Ms. Lewis.
Here.
Reverend Matias is present. Mr. Ross.
Present.
Ms. Shadke.
Here.
Ms. Williams. Dr. Baker.
Here.
Ms. Davis.
Here.
Dr. Flores.
Present.
President Grant.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? So moved. Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. It looks like we have several celebrations this evening, and I'm going to ask that Mr. Johnson join us and share with us kick it off, share what we're celebrating tonight.
Good evening, Madam President and Superintendent Weather O'Neill, and our other illustrious and distinguished board members. It gives me great honor
Excuse
and
me,
pleasure.
would you mind putting that mic closer, or John or someone? Thank you. Just want to make sure we can be heard.
One more cheer. Thank you. Have a little bit of company up here with us tonight. Like I said, it gives me great honor and pleasure to have some of our guests with us on this particular evening. And we are very appreciative when community partners step forward and support the work that goes on in the district. And so as you all know, that we are under a state mandate to teach hands-only CPR to all high school students before they graduate. And so in a district our size, that can become a daunting task. And so we really appreciate when partners or community partners kind of look at us and say, you know, we can help you get that done. And so tonight you'll see two examples of two community partners that stepped forward and said, you know, we think we can help you out with CPR kits in schools and to help you do that mandate that is now required for all high school students. And so tonight I have with me Jean Lesarge Bono, who is the Executive Director for American Heart Association here in West Michigan, and some of our other guests, Julie Newhouse from American Heart Association as well. And so I'm going to let Jean talk a little bit about the work and the connectivity that they have with us with that work.
And I've got Kelsey Schweibert here from the American Heart Association as well. A little bit about our work. That mandate came through the state of Michigan for the CPR in schools, education through the schools, just because your odds of surviving a cardiac arrest in the state of Michigan is less than 10%. And in some communities in the state of Michigan, it's nearly 0%. And the majority of the reason for that is because there's not enough education and knowledge on the part of bystanders so that they can react in the event of an emergency. So the American Heart Association worked on legislation to drive some of the education through the schools for a lot of reasons. First and foremost is that students are a good captive audience, so they're a percent of the population you can reach. They're primed for learning. And also, it was more of a accepted training when it was driven through the schools by the various communities, if it came through that way. So we worked on that mandate, and what it helps us do is it trains over 100,000 people in Michigan on an annual basis. In 10 years, it'll be nearly 1 million trained people that are in the adult population on account of this, and we expect that survival rates will increase 2 to 3 times, so that you'll have significantly higher odds of being able to survive a cardiac arrest. Why is that important? Cardiovascular disease is actually the #1 health risk in the United States, in the world, and in West Michigan, more than all forms of cancer combined. So it's really critical that we have that training out there, and we really appreciate the good work that's being done through the schools. And so Perigo was one of our sponsors, and I'll let Kelsey talk a little bit about what that sponsorship was.
Yeah, so Perigo has sponsored several kits here for Grand Rapids Public Schools. We're really excited. They're a wonderful partner of ours. They definitely know and see the value of these CPR training kits, so they're really, really excited. They wanted to be here tonight. Unfortunately, scheduling conflicts did not allow them to be here, but we're really, really lucky. We work with several great community partners to place kits throughout West Michigan.
And then I'll let Julie talk a little bit about some of the work we're doing in the schools.
Absolutely. So I'm the Youth Market Director of the American Heart Association, so I do have the pleasure of working with about 160 school systems throughout Michigan, and I've been partnering with your district for many, many years. I have the great opportunity to do a lot of healthy education and assemblies, and when I talk to your students, I talk to them about what their plate should look like, the sodium that they have in their food, starting to look at labels, monitoring that. We talk about vaping, nicotine, all those things that we are hoping that we educate these kids at a young age to keep them right on track and start them young so that we're working on prevention so these things aren't happening as they get older. I have had a wonderful opportunity as well to work with one of your ADs here in the district, Marcus, and he's done a fabulous job with the Red Out, and I think we're going to mention that in a little bit. Also, Kelly Kieran over at North Park Montessori. That was a school that went through a lot of transition this year, and I really want to give a shout out to her, if you will, because moving to the other school, we were able to, I reached out to her and she was in tears and she said, I have no equipment, it's all on hold. And so we actually reached out to Walmart as well, and we'll make sure that she had enough equipment to get the kids started in the new location. And so we've worked with your schools and you've helped us, so I want to make sure that you're aware that when there is a need, we're going to try to serve that need for you as well. So, so that's the great work. I love working with your district, and I appreciate all your support.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The American Heart Association had a wonderful event, Heart Ball, last Friday, and we got a chance to talk about, we on the education side, we talk about the importance of education, but what good is all of that education if kids are reaching or experiencing premature, chronic, or acute health ailments, from bad choices or health or lifestyle choices there. So educating them young is the thing to do. So next up, we're going to have Marcus Harris come on up and talk about their connection with their Red Out game in the American Heart Association and how that event went. Julie may come back.
Thank you for having us, Board President Ms. Grant, Superintendent Neal, board members. So this year we had our 6th annual Red Out game partnering with the American Heart Association. This past year was on February 22nd, played against Lowe, doubleheader basketball game, and we raised just over $1,000. In this 6th year, we've raised over $7,500. Working with American Heart Association. So we're glad to fight heart disease and stroke, number 1 in 5 killers. I'm sure we've all had a loved one affected by heart disease, so we're going to continue to do this every February during Heart Awareness Month.
I just have to tell you, Marcus does such a fabulous job, and it's so much fun when we're at these events as well, because the announcer, she's slipping my mind what her name is, but she goes through and does heart health facts and does a trivia, if you will, at these games. And the stands, everybody gets so excited about the opportunity to win various items. Every once in a while, it might be something that's not very healthy, but it's all in good fun as well. But it's been fantastic working with Marcus. We've become friends through this process, and I appreciate all the work that he does. He's a great example for the students that he's leading, so I appreciate it. And before I leave today as well, I know that you are retiring, and when I work with Marcus, oftentimes we have fun things that we, provide at our Red Outs. And so I wanted to give you these pair of Nike Elite American Heart Association socks so you continue to be active during your retirement. So thank you.
All right, thank you. keep right on rolling. We don't want that title. Justin Walker from Union Heights is going to come down and join us. And here is an opportunity for you to hear about some of the winter accomplishments of our student athletes, academically as well as athletically. And you will hear about some of the all-state, all-conference honors and acknowledgments, as well as record-setting and record-breaking performances from the student athletes that are here with us tonight. Just some of them.
Again, thank you, Board President, Ms. Grant, Superintendent Neal, board members. As Mr. Johnson had mentioned, it's hard to believe we're in our spring season and school is almost coming to a close, and it's been a exceptional sports season for Ottawa Hills and Union. I'm gonna just share some of those accomplishments for our winter sports season. This past winter, we had 8 all-conference athletes in basketball and swimming, girls and boys basketball and swimming. The boys swim team, most of them are with us right here today, enjoyed another exceptional season, coached by Coach Eve, one of the best swim coaches in the country. But boys swim team broke 3 Ottawa Hills records this year in the 200 medley, 100 meter backstroke, and 100 breaststroke. The 200 medley relay team also broke the OK Conference Tier 2 record this year. We had 6 swimmers qualify for state meet this year. All of them are here with us here today. Our team finished in 16th place in Division III for the state finals, which is the highest ever finish in state meet by Ottawa Hills program. We had 6 all-conference members from the swim team, 4 academic All-American from the swim team, 4 academic All-State. And then also the National Interscholastic Swim Coaches Association, also known as NISCA, we were a Scholar Team Award winner at the bronze level due to the team GPA, which consisted of a 3.2 GPA. So that was awesome. We were MHSA Scholar Award winner, Dawson Erickson in the state of Michigan. And also our wonderful coach received another NISCA Outstanding Service Award this year as well, and that's on a national level. Our Ottawa Hills track team, we had some recently broken records. Madison Ebright ran 11:1 to break the previous record of 11:3. And then Adit ran 5:9 in the mile to break the previous record. Kiki Clark broke just this past Saturday, broke the pole vault record. She cleared 8 feet at the Hopkins Invitational this past Saturday, breaking the record. Also, we have 2 of our wonderful students who are twins at Ottawa Hills, Saina Moore and Taina Moore, who were recently selected as our valedictorian and salutatorian. They're 3-sport athletes. So this year they participated in golf, girls basketball, and track and field currently. So those are 2 of our wonderful student athletes at Ottawa Hills. We also have had athletes who have gone off and signed recently over the last couple weeks. 4 students signed and committed to play sport at collegiate level. So that's awesome. We have Andrew here with us who committed to and signed with St. Olaf to swim. So our students are doing a wonderful job, and thanks to you guys for all of your support.
That's nice.
And those Ottawa Hills track and field young ladies who broke records are freshmen and sophomores.
Well, welcome. Thank you for allowing me to be here, Board President Grant, Superintendent Weatherall Neal, and the rest of our board members. By far, I think this is one of the things that me and Marcus enjoy most is being able to come here and brag about our kids. And I always say our kids because of the time and investment that our coaches and you all allow us to invest in them. So we are very appreciative of that. Union had another successful winter season this year as well. We had girls basketball players who made both all-conference honorable mention this year. We had 2 all-conference OK Black team members for the boys basketball with Javon Hernandez and Jeremiah Pittman, and also a all-conference honorable mention athlete in Jose Torres. And one of the most impressive things, Emilio Martin, who is a 3-year varsity award winner for the Union Redhawks, has received an academic scholarship to attend Western Michigan University. That could not have been done without the hard work of our coaching staff and the support of this board and the efforts it takes to make sure that we are providing quality programming. And to see a student athlete to be able to receive an academic scholarship is an awesome feeling for a coach and athletic department. In wrestling, we had Pervez Manzada, who finished 3rd in the MHSA Wrestling District and who was also a regional qualifier. Our wrestling program has doubled the number of female wrestlers in our program this year. Wrestling among female students is a growing sport in the MHSA, and Coach Lundy is doing an exceptional job of recruiting young ladies to be a part of this growing sport. So we look to continue to grow that number in the years to come, and we are excited about the future for our wrestling program. As far as boys swim, we have Jackson Tejan. He's here with us tonight. Jackson was a regional and state qualifier for us this year, and he was in Division II. He finished in the top 25 in the state, and he is the first state berth for Union High School for boys since 1990. So our swim program is making strides as well, so we're very excited about that. Our boys team also had 5 qualifiers for the USA Swimming Juniors Olympic team, allowing them to compete in postseason with their own special clubs. But again, our swim coaches and staff are doing an excellent job preparing them for opportunities in and outside of our season. We only graduated 3 seniors this year for swim, so we're looking forward to a strong season next year. And we continue to look forward to the support of this board, and we thank you for all that you do for our students.
All right, thank you. If students would like to see you up close and personal, come on down. I have to give a shout out to the principals as well who support the programming in the buildings and understand the importance of these opportunities for the kids. So Dr. Nelson and Mr. Sarkar, I'm not sure if he's here, but thank you for their leadership and participation.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. Good work. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
You got a little more photo out.
Very nice. I love it here. Thank you.
All right.
They are. You can ask them to stand. Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Will you ask our coaches to stand, please?
Yes. Coaches that are in the house right now, can you stand up so that we can acknowledge you? I see Coach E. Bright. Could not do it without you. Thank you.
We see some of the parents.
And some of the parents.
Parents here, yeah.
You stand up as well. Help getting them to practices. Thank you all.
Awesome.
We're going to move on because we don't want John's record.
You do have the record. It belongs to you, Mr. Johnson, but keep going. Don't stop now.
But the next acknowledgement is really special, where we are acknowledging those who have committed and demonstrated 40 years of service to Grand Rapids Public Schools.
right.
And I am particularly pleased and honored to be sitting here for 2 of the honorees tonight, because I have worked with them, I was counting almost 20 years now, back in my days as a building principal. And so I've worked with them and actually performed with them as well. And
That's
so
right.
it gives me great pleasure to know that I could be a part of a few of those years, of those 40 years. So I'm going to have Ms. Maggie Malone come up, and so that you can hear a little more about each one of our honorees. And we'll have them join us as well.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Superintendent Weatherall Neal, President Grant, and members of the board. It's always a pleasure when we can talk about our team and what a great job they're doing for such a long time. I think that's a testament to all of their character. So I will start with Ann Krenslewski. It's been 7 years that I've had the opportunity to work with Ann. I'm proud to know her as a visual arts teacher for the Grand Rapids Public Schools. On our paper, it says 40 years, but Ann corrected me. It's actually 45. Yes. We talked in our staff meeting today about how a lot of them are not even 40 yet. So, and she has taught and most recently at City and currently at Union High School. And what you might not know about Ann is that during her tenure with the district, she also taught elementary school, middle school science, and reading. That was many years ago, but she wanted to make sure that was in there. Miss K, as her students fondly call her, is an educator with integrity and high standards. Her students have achieved high levels of success under her instruction, receiving countless college scholarships, success in art competitions, and a lifelong love of art. In addition to providing high-quality instruction, she has served the district as a mentor teacher, serving on instructional council, serving positions in the Grand Rapids Education Association, contributing to fine arts interview panels, high school visual arts teacher leader. She served on curriculum writing for the visual arts and has served the district and our students with pride, integrity, and a relentless pursuit in a way to make things better for our students, the district, and our team. And I want to thank you for all you do for the district and for our talented students of the Grand Rapids Public Schools.
Nice, nice.
And Ann's husband, Tom, is here, and her son, Brandon, if they'd like to stand. And Ann, if you'd like to say a few words.
Well, don't get me started. I won't.
Oh, Lord.
What I shared with my staff, and we talked about how many years I've been with Grand Rapids Public Schools, and then the 5 years previous to that with the Catholic school system, is the joys that I have felt, the experiences that I have had, the sadness, the pain I have felt for students, the changes that happen that we have no control over, the ability to be able to teach many different kinds of things and love those things. I have never once in my entire career wanted to teach anywhere else. And I have always said that anybody who is in the Grand Rapids Public Schools as a teacher, we are very, very fortunate. We have wonderful leaders. We have wonderful students. And I'll just share this one story. When I was working on my master's degree and I was working through Grand Valley, and there was an alternate person that was teaching. And he was teaching something about urban education. And most of the people that were there were from the suburbs. And one person finally said, after he'd been talking about whatever we have to do, "What about Grand Rapids?" And he said, "We don't talk about them." And I left that class and left Grand Valley at that point. It wasn't Grand Valley's fault. And I went to finish my degree at Calvin. But that always struck me, that there was still that opinion about us as a group of people, the students, the teachers, the administrators, the people that we work with that care so much, that they still have that feeling of, we don't touch that. So anyway, thank you so much for just giving me 40 wonderful years. I really appreciate it.
Howdy. And if that's not enough, we have 2 fine art staff who have a total of really 40 years over here, 45. So we are lots of experience. So I'm also proud to have the opportunity to work with Miss Sonia Schultz for 7 years. I have known Sonia to be a band teacher. However, Miss Schultz has also taught orchestra, choir, and general music. She's taught in several GRPS schools over her 40 years, including City and Burton Middle School. She's currently at Burton Middle. And what you might not know about Sonia, she's not really a morning person. But to show her dedication to our team and our students, Sonia serves as the instrumental teacher leader on our fine arts team. We meet at 6 a.m. Yes, that's a.m. And she has not missed a meeting. Just had to point that out. Sonia's heart and love for her kids is unwavering. I have watched her reignite the fire and passion for high-quality music instruction. The light in her eyes when she is in front of her students is undeniable. Sonia serves the district as the fine arts teacher, mentor teacher, teacher leader for instrumental music. She serves on fine arts interview panels, band curriculum writing. Sonia has grown the band program at Burton back to a full-time program. She has taken her students to the internal GRPS music festivals every year. And this year, she joined Michigan School Band and Orchestra Association, which is our state organization for instrumental music, and she had her students successfully participate in band festival this year. That's notable. Yes, and she's also a member of our Staff Notes group, which, if you're not familiar, is a vocal group that we formed with some of our staff members for the purpose of connecting with students and giving back to the community through our content, which is music. Sonia's dedication inspires those around her to raise expectation, reflect, and make a positive influence on the life of a child. Thank you so much, Sonia, for all of you do for our amazing students and the district. And we are proud to have you as part of our fine arts teams with Grand Rapids. Sonia has with her today her husband, Jim, and her daughter, Grace. And if they'd stand up, and I'm going to pass the microphone over to Sonia if she'd like to say a few words.
I'll just say a few because I don't have a lot to say. But when I was hired in 1979, I never thought I'd be at this point. I was going to go on and get my master's and do some other things. But as I got on in my career as a music teacher, I felt like I was really called to do what I'm doing. And I feel called to be here in Grand Rapids and hopefully make an impact on the kid's life. And I do it for the pure joy of what I do. I love what I do. I have fun at what I do, and I hope the kids have a good time. And for all those, new teachers out there, you have to find joy in what you do, and you have to be passionate about what you do. And that's the way I feel. And thank you so much, everyone, for your support.
President Grant, I just like to, I'm sorry, but one of the advantages of being on the board 10 years ago is because of the need to communicate with teachers. I got to know a real great core of teachers, and these two were part of that group. And I think that they illustrate so much. The instruction is what is part of their work, but really, they raised our children for 40 and 45 years. And I know that Miss Kay certainly raised my daughter when she was in middle school. She was the spy. She was the one who was communicating with me during middle school dances. She was essentially the after-school program. I could call Miss Kay and let her know that I needed her to watch my daughter until I got there at 4:15. And in dedication to that, there is, fortunately and unfortunately, a 20-pound ceramic duck soap dish in my bathroom forever dedicated to that time that my daughter still wants it. So anyway, it's just, and I know the work of you two. It's just like amazing the role that you've had in raising the children of this community. So thank you.
Nice job. Thank you. Nice job. We have one more, and that is. Before you do that, we have one more celebration, and that is Miss Laura Lamora and Denise.
Good evening, Superintendent Neal, President Grant, esteemed members of the board. It is my pleasure, as with my colleagues, to introduce to you and celebrate the dedication and service of Denise Johnson. Denise has been with us for 40 years. She is, I brought my cheat sheet with all of the roles and responsibilities that she has had over the years for our district. She started in 1979 with word processing. She was then a special ed department secretary, community education secretary, Office of Curriculum and Planning secretary, district office secretary, grants office secretary, adult education secretary, school and community secretary, another stint with the Department of Special Ed secretary, and she has ended her career with us at Pine Grove, back with students, which is, I know, where the heart and soul of her love and passion to both Grand Rapids and those she serves comes from. As we talk about principals being the heart of our buildings, I think that Denise and colleagues who are administrative assistants and secretaries, they are the soul. They're the first people that pick up the phone and to greet the students coming in from the buses and the families who may or may not be running late, to make it okay, to know our systems, to know our operations, to know who they are, and have it be okay to get those kids learning to the best of their capacity for the remainder of the day and meet our core mission. Denise exemplifies that greater than anybody I've seen, I think, because of the way that she has been throughout our district and has seen the leadership and understand the systems and gets it done across all levels. So it's my pleasure and my point of pride to say thank you, Denise. You will be sorely, sorely missed. We have done a lot of turnover with secretaries over the last couple of years, and every time somebody new comes in or a leave is there and someone is in to temporarily take over those roles, we say, who can ramp them up? And it's always Denise. So we're hoping that, Denise, you will never be too far away to pick up the phone and help us out. And we thank you and appreciate you for your years of service to all those who've been through.
Nice job.
I totally didn't expect any of this. I just thought it would be a thank you, and we appreciate you, and see you again. 40 years that I didn't expect either. They've been the best 40 years of my life. I've loved every job, every one of them, and I've loved the people. I've gotten to know a lot of people very closely, and that's not going to end from here. I am retiring as well, so that's been a really tough decision to make, but I don't feel that old. You think retirement is older people, and it's not. So I'm going to enjoy my time away, but I'm going to go back and sub at the school because
Nice.
I absolutely adore the special ed staff. They are so
Nice.
dedicated and hard workers, and they're there every day
Good job.
dealing with a lot of stuff. And so I want to be with the kids this time and not in a leadership role. I want to have fun. I've had fun, so I appreciate all of you and the way the school has grown, the whole district has grown. I'm proud, very proud. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Superintendent Weatherall Neal, President Grant, members of the board. It's an honor to be here tonight with our friends from the Rotary Club of Grand Rapids. Ron, Dr. Gorman had an opportunity to speak at a recent luncheon, and I thought his words were very appropriate, where we talk a lot about all the different partners that we have that are in and out of our schools, that with new programs, new initiatives, and they come and go. And there's one example of a program that has stuck with us for more than a quarter century, and that's the Strive program through the Grand Rapids Rotary. And with us tonight is Chelsea Doobie, who is the president of the board, that's going to share some words and also introduce a few of her colleagues here.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you, Superintendent Weatherall Neal and Board President Grant, and thank you for coming a few weeks ago to our celebration and the rest of the board. Tonight with me, I have Paula Jassifer, who is a co-chair of our Strive mentoring program, and she runs our program at Union High School, and Doug Thompson, who runs our program at Ottawa. He also sits on the Student Advancement Foundation board for you all. We are so excited to celebrate 25 years of Strive, where we've offered over $350,000 worth of scholarships to the students of Grand Rapids Public Schools through the 25 years, including not just scholarships, but work incentive stipends, so that if they work hard during the summer in a part-time job, we will help them make even more money than they're offered. Annually, we invest 1,000 volunteer hours through the program, which we're very proud of. So on behalf of our entire Rotary Club of Grand Rapids, 200 members throughout the community, and our hundreds of mentors for the past 25 years, thank you so much for the partnership and the opportunity to walk along with these students. It's not just an academic mentorship program, it's a life mentorship program. And the stories that come out of these relationships are just incredible. So we are so excited to adapt and change with the district. We are at Ottawa Hills and working with the early middle college students so that we can walk along with them as they enter this big bad world of college and real life. So we'll be here for the next 25, and we're excited to continue the relationship with all of you. So thank you so much for having us tonight.
Good job.
So I do have to say, I attended the luncheon that they hosted, and hearing the students and seeing the students with their mentors. The mentors were crying, the students were crying, I was crying. But to hear the relationships that they've developed, it's a huge investment, and thank you for what you invest in our students. Thank you. We do not have our student representatives with us this evening. Do we have public comment for board agenda items?
We do not. Or we may.
Is it for an agenda item? Non-agenda, okay. So we will reach non-agenda items in just a bit. Next, we'll have the secretary's report.
I'm sorry. Just making sure we're doing it. The City Board Liaison Committee meeting is scheduled for Friday, May 17th, 2019 at 11:30 at room 101 here in the Administration Building. Also, the Ad hoc Policy Committee meeting on May 22nd has been canceled due to graduations. We have 7 this year, or 8. The Finance Committee meeting is scheduled on Tuesday, May 28th, 2019 at 4:30 in the board chambers of the Administration Building. And also the Legislative Committee meeting is scheduled on Thursday, May 30th in room 101 of the Administration Building. No regular board meeting May 20th. Please make a note that there will not be a regular board meeting the third Monday of the month due to graduations of the class of 2019. That's it.
What was the date? What was the time for the liaison meeting?
It is 11:30 in the morning.
Okay. Next, we have committee chair updates. We'll start with Dr. Baker and the Academic Achievement Committee.
We've actually had, I think, 2 meetings to account for since we've last met. And again, as I've mentioned before, we're
doing Academic Achievement Committee meeting a bit differently because we're in this transition year with Superintendent Neal leaving us, and so trying to get some work done and having the board take ownership over some of this work. Two major areas that we're working on. In April, we had a review of the Centers of Innovation process historically and how academies are chosen that would go into, we have academies at Innovation Central High School, 5 academies, and then at Ottawa Hills High School, we currently have the Early Middle College program, and we'll be starting this fall the hospitality management. The committee and the board had requested that we have more role in vetting which academies came into Ottawa Hills High School. So we had a great working session in April where the committee and the cabinet worked together on what an application process should look like, considering and using kind of past templates that were used for the original Center of Innovation years ago, but creating a process that takes into account an analysis of student interests, market need for the academy, partners, and what partners can bring to the process and can assist with the post-secondary, whether or not the program provides for opportunities for career and college, not just one or the other, and how all areas of the city would be served by the program, not just, and so that way we could use the academies as a way to get past some of the segregated boundaries that we have in the city. The cabinet will work on a document that will come to our June academic committee meeting, and we will then review that document and bring it to the full board for approval, so that way in the future all this new academies will come through the board as part of the process. So it was really fantastic to do that work together. And then last week we had the May meeting, which was looking at the teacher evaluation system, the current tool and system, which are two different things. We will be reviewing over a period of months the tool and system, and with that, hopefully taking into account the experience that people have with the teacher evaluation process from administrators and teachers' standpoints. So that's going to be a process that we'll work on getting that feedback, and then understanding how each of the approved state tools work. And with that, we also, that day, I think, had learned that the state had decided to forego moving the student growth metric up to 40% and kept it at 25%. So it was a good day to be talking about that work. And so that's going to be ongoing. That's all.
I do have one question. I do know that you were going to bring the piece for academies to the full board to vote on, but it may also be interesting to add just a short portion in a work session to give a deeper dive and overview of the work that you all have.
Yeah, I'll let you, once that's done, we'll just work with you as to where that should go.
And then to also do the same thing for teacher evaluation when we get there, to have the full board do a deeper dive. Okay. Next, we have Mr. Ross for the Finance Committee.
There were a few things that were brought forward in the consent agenda packet in the minutes. I guess particularly a lot of that is not necessarily exciting news. Some dollars spent for improvements to Straight School in the third year of a 3-year plan to make some renovations to Straight School. I think those on the board have been paying attention some years ago. There was some concerns by the community as far as accommodation and things like that, and folks being able to get wheelchairs in and out and things of that nature. So those in the third year of that work, so dollars were approved to complete that work. Also, just rental costs for Pine Grove and KEC Oakley. And I guess I want to go back to Straight School though. Even though those dollars that the district is spending, it should be noted that those dollars are reimbursable by KISD. So just a note to that. But I think really probably the most exciting news to me. We just completed the second tranche of the bond sale. Folks remember the voters allowed us to apply 2 mills to incur $175 million worth of dollars to improve facilities around the district. And we just had the second tranche of those sales offered to the public. So there was $77 million left in that tranche. And by midday, really, there was $370 million worth of asks for those $77 million. And I really think that's important for folks to recognize the confidence that the district has engineered in investors. So again, we only could sell $77 million worth, but there was $370 million out there. People trying to get their hands on the good old stock of Grand Rapids Public Schools. So again, so in all, I think the highlight of that though is really that the public needs to know that the recent work of the district has saved the general public money, frankly. So as opposed to having to apply those 2 mills to acquire the funds we needed, we only had to apply 0.5 mills, which really in a sense is a saving to the general public. So there really won't be any significant increase in the tax dollars. And again, I want to underscore that because again, that really just really indicates some of the great work that the district has been doing. And again, still work to do, of course, but that's the indication that really just the confidence that folks have in Grand Rapids Public Schools. So I think that was the most exciting thing. The rest of the stuff is in your packet. Really nothing noteworthy per se aside from that. No.
Thank you.
Make it sound fun. Yes.
That's fine.
Transformation plan at work.
Next, we have Ms. Shockey with the Legislative Committee.
Yeah, the Legislative Committee met on April 22nd. We had a pretty light agenda as legislators had been on spring break for a big piece of our time between meetings. Received an update from Rusty Merchant, but really no notable changes at legislation at that time. However, since then, there's been some movement, of course, on the snow day legislation. I know we'll hear from Mr. Helmholtz here in just a little bit on that. Other work of the committee right now is really just working to schedule another legislative day, whether that's a lunch or a dinner. It includes some building tours in that as well with our legislators. We know and believe it's very important to continue to cultivate those relationships and certainly be a resource to them as they make very important decisions about public education. So that's all for now. Thank you.
President Grant, one thing I didn't forget for my Finance Committee colleagues, as Reverend Matias mentioned in the Secretary's report, the next meeting is on the 28th. It was scheduled for 4:30, but there is a city graduation at 6, and we may need to move that to 4 o'clock. If there are no objections, I guess check your calendars and let me know if that works for you, 4 o'clock instead of 4:30, and I'll confer that with Ms. Over.
Okay. All right, next we have the Superintendent's report.
I'd ask Dr. Ron Gorman to come forward to talk about the graduation schedule, please.
So good evening.
Good evening.
Superintendent Weatherall Neal, President Grant, distinguished members of our Board of Education. I can't believe we are in graduation season already. I'm here to share with you the dates and the locations and the times for the upcoming graduation ceremonies. Our ceremonies will take place this year at Calvin College's campus in 2 locations, and then also at Fountain Street Church. On Monday, May 20 at 5 p.m., we will graduate Ottawa Hills, followed by C.A. Frost at 7:30 p.m. This is in the Calvin College Van Ord Arena. This will be the first graduation ceremony for C.A. Frost. And if you've been following them on social media this week, they talked about the students who have been at C.A. Frost through kindergarten all the way through graduation. So those students will be highlighted at that time. On Tuesday, May 21 at 6 p.m., Union High School will also graduate from Calvin College. There is only one ceremony on May 21. May 22, Innovation Central and Grand Rapids Montessori will graduate at 5 p.m., followed by UPrep at 7:30 p.m. Both ceremonies will be held at Calvin College's Van Ord Arena. On Thursday, May 23, our center-based programs will graduate at 5 p.m., followed by Grand Rapids Learning Center and KEC Beltline at 7:30 p.m. These ceremonies will be held at Calvin College Fine Arts Center. It's a smaller facility still on Calvin College's campus. And then we will not have any graduation ceremonies over the holiday weekend, and we will conclude with City High at Fountain Street Church on Tuesday, May 28th. So we have an additional ceremony this year. There will be 8 total. It is our hope that you will join us for as many as you can. And I know some of you have gone 7 for 7, so try to go 8 for 8. All right? Thank you so much.
Wow.
John Hemholt, please.
You know, there are a few occasions where we get to put out a district-wide email that pretty much makes everyone happy.
Right.
So we're pleased to share that the legislature was able to move forward with the snow day legislation. This legislation would forgive those days were declared states of emergency. We were a little nervous. The House originally passed it, had language that would have mandated all hourly workers be paid. Of course, that didn't affect us because we had already made that local decision. In the Senate, they passed it out without that, which then led to a vote, essentially a protest vote, where the bill was not given immediate effect. So we got a little nervous because that means it wouldn't have affected us. But it moved back to the House and back to the Senate and is on its way to Governor Whitmer's desk, where she has already publicly said that she will be signing it, which means that at this point we will be back to the normal calendar once the ink has dried on her signature, which would be the last day is May 31st. And we had originally put out some communications to parents and students that we were going to have to make up 2 days. That would have moved it to June 3rd and 4th, but thanks to this legislation, and particular thanks to Senator Winnie Brinks. She was one of the 4 Democrats that crossed over then the second time around and voted to give the bill immediate effect. So just lots of good movement there, and we're glad that decision's finally made.
Thank you. John, if
Yep,
you
I got
stay.
one more.
One more.
I'm pleased to be here tonight to celebrate one of our own school board members. I'm not sure she even knows it's really coming yet, but Kathy Downs Lewis recently received acknowledgement and praise and award from the Michigan Association of School Boards. And not only did she earn the Level 1 certification, but she received an award of merit and a award of distinction. And so we just want, on behalf of the district, all of our colleagues, the board, congratulations.
Good job, Kathy.
All this is a testimony to the fact that I always love to go to classes, so.
It's good to know we got 1 qualified board member.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. We have a few action items for this evening. First, we have Mr. Hemholt that is going to take us through the resolution naming the robotics lab at Innovation Central High in honor of Roger B. Chafee.
Good evening again. I know, first, before I get started, I want to acknowledge some of our members of robotics team. I know there's Therese and Tony and others there. Would you guys stand up? And just You know, Dr. Gorman and I have been working pretty closely on the robotics program from when Superintendent Weatherall Neal said, we need to grow this program. When Consumers Energy and Steelcase approached us a few years ago, they had a desire to grow robotics. And at that time we thought we had 2 teams. There was actually 3 teams, but we went from 3 teams to 10 teams, and then 10 teams to 20 teams, and I think we're still hovering around the 20. Team 904 has gone to states on a regular basis. Therese and Tony and that whole crew have just really led the way at the top for FIRST Robotics, but we have a number of teams at the FIRST Tech, which is the middle school, and the FIRST Lego, which is at the elementary. And so not too long ago, this year's theme happens to be around space and astronauts and all that fun stuff. And of course, one of our most famous graduates, maybe second to Jerry and Betty Ford and a few others, is none other than Roger B. Chafee. And so as they were planning their year-end celebration, Therese and other members of the team said, do you think we could honor Roger B. Chafee by renaming our robotics lab in his honor? And so we went through your process, the board process of review that included surveying students and staff, that included getting sign off from the family and the level of interest, which a board member was there. And so we're here tonight to present the resolution, and I'm going to quickly read through it. Whereas Roger B. Chafee was born on February 15, 1935 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He attended Grand Rapids Public Schools, Dickinson School, and Central High School, graduating in 1953, the top fifth of his class. And whereas Roger B. Chafee continued his education career and endeavors, accepting a Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps scholarship, and in 1953 enrolled in the Illinois Institute of Technology. And whereas Roger B. Chafee was passionate about flying and had a strong aptitude for science and engineering, he applied these talents by transferring to Purdue University in 1954 to attend the school's aeronautical engineering program. And whereas Roger B. Chafee graduated from Purdue University in 1957, earning a Bachelor of Science degree with distinction in aeronautical engineering. And whereas in 1962, Roger B. Chafee applied for the NASA astronaut training program and was accepted in the initial pool of 1,800 applicants for the third group of NASA astronauts. In January 1963, he entered the U.S. Air Force Institute of Technology at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, to work on his Master of Science degree in reliability engineering. Good thing there's reliable engineering. Whereas on October 14, 1963, Roger B. Chafee was chosen by NASA in Houston, Texas to be an astronaut. He was announced to be one of 14 chosen for NASA's third group of astronauts. And whereas Roger B. Chafee's training entailed lectures and contingency training, whereas Roger B. Chafee, along with 13 other pilots, was selected to be an astronaut as part of NASA Astronaut Group 3 in 1963. He served as a capsule communicator, CAPCOM, for the Gemini 3 and Gemini 4 missions and received his first space flight assignment in 1966 as the third-ranking pilot on Apollo 1. Whereas Roger B. Chafee, along with fellow astronauts Virgil Gus Grissom and Ed White, died in a fire during a pre-launch test for the mission at was then the Cape Kennedy Air Force Station Launch Complex 34. Whereas Roger B. Chafee was an American naval officer, an aviator, aeronautical engineer, NASA astronaut in the Apollo program, he posthumously received a second Air Force Medal, was inducted into the International Space Hall of Fame in 1963. Whereas Innovation Central and Robotics Team 904 request, in accordance with the Grand Rapids Board of Education's policy, to name the robotics in honor of one of Central High's most famous and distinguished graduates, Roger B. Chafee, inspiring all students to reach for their dreams and believe they can accomplish them through educational preparation, imagination, and determination. And whereas a formal request has been provided along with support from the Chafee family and the results of a survey taken by students and staff in support of this naming. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby proclaims Innovation Central High's Robotics Lab be named in honor of the late Roger B. Chafee. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be placed on file with the official proceedings of the Board of Education.
Nice. Good job.
Do I have a motion to approve the resolution naming the robotics lab at Innovation Central High in honor of Roger B. Chafee?
So moved.
Support.
All right, Reverend Matias?
Okay. Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Reverend Matias, yes. Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Shatke?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
President Grant?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Nice job. We also have gifts here from the robotics team, so thank you very much. Thank you for thinking of us.
Gracias.
Next, we have the purchasing agenda. And are we expecting an overview from Mr. Oberst on that, or do you all have any questions on that? All right.
Questions?
Do I have a motion to approve the purchasing agenda?
Motion to approve the purchasing agenda?
Support.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Reverend Matias, yes. Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Shatke?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
President Grant.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we have the Dream Fund donation.
Good evening, President Grant, Superintendent Weatherall Neal, and board members. We have to bring to you tonight, because of timing, a Dream Fund allocation. This is an amount of $10,000. There's a little memo in your packet for a Union High School program for Writing Forward that consisted of a field trip to Grand Valley, which was done in late March, and the request for $10,000, or the donation from the Dream Fund for $10,000 would be to acquire some additional technology for these students to further their love of journalism. So just ask that you would approve the $10,000 donation from the Dream Fund tonight. So we get that technology ordered here shortly.
Do I have a motion to approve the Dream Fund donation?
So moved.
Support.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Reverend Matias, yes. Mr. Ross.
Yes.
Ms. Schottky.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Dr. Baker.
Yes.
Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Dr. Flores.
Yes.
President Grant.
Yes.
Motion carries.
We have Mr. Oberst for the KISD operating budget.
We do, I'm sorry.
I was going to say the full long. That's okay.
Every year at this time, we are required, all the local districts within the ISD are required to have their boards approve the general fund of the Kent Intermediate School Districts. Once the individual school district boards have approved that, which need to happen in May, then it will go to the ISD board at their June board meeting. So this is an annual event, if you will, that resolution needs to be approved by this board. In your packet is a full budget report from the ISD. Included in that is not only the general fund, which is the only fund this board needs to act on, but also the special education fund, which administers the center programs, and then the CTE fund. The general fund primarily funds and operates the Great Start Readiness Program. We are not part of that. We have our own program. And it also runs the adult education program, which you may recall I think it was 3 years ago, we moved our adult education program into the ISD. So they now have run several local programs currently. And it also houses and funds all the administrative services of the ISD. So their funding comes primarily from property taxes as well as some funds from the state. So the motion needs to be for resolution for this board to approve the general fund budget for the 1920 year for the ISD.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Okay. Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Reverend Matias, yes. Mr. Ross.
Yes.
Ms. Schottky.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Dr. Baker.
Yes.
Ms. Davis.
Yes.
Dr. Flores.
Yes.
President Grant.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the superintendent search request for proposal. And so at our 5:30 work session this evening, our special meeting, the board approved the criteria for the post for our interim superintendent. We approved the criteria and the language for that post. It has been determined that the post will be posted immediately for internal candidates tomorrow, May 7th, and it will stay open until noon on May 13th. And the reasoning for that is that we have a meeting that evening on May 13th, and we'll be able to review those applications. The board also wanted to share that if we know it's a short timeline, if we were unable to review them on the 13th, our next meeting isn't until June 3rd. And we wanted to make sure that staff was able to move forward, go into their summer, knowing what the next steps for the districts are. So we want potential candidates to be ready to complete that application, and the board will review those applicants on the evening of May 13th. Is there anything else that we'd like to add on that piece? Or?
We need to vote on it here?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
So we all have the updated language in front of us, but it is exactly the language that we discussed in the meeting at 5:30. If there are no further questions or comments, do I have a motion to approve the superintendent search request for proposal?
Motion to approve the search request.
Support?
Actually, just the language here is, this is the motion to approve the internal superintendent interim posting, or interim superintendent internal posting.
You're right, thank you. I'm reading the
Yes.
agenda, but
Sorry.
you're correct, the
My list.
interim posting. Do I have a motion to approve the interim superintendent selection criteria posting?
Motion, support. Yes. So moved.
A second.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Reverend Matias, yes. Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Shotke?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
President Grant?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And so I'm sorry. Now I see. I got ahead of myself. So the superintendent search firm request for proposal that discussion has been moved to our May 13th meeting, and the vote will be taken on that item on May 13th. And we just took the vote for the interim superintendent internal posting. Next, we have the consent agenda grouping. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Okay. Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Reverend Matias, yes. Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Shotke?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Dr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
President Grant?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We have two quick discussion items. The first one is the presentation of the KISD biennial election of the Kent Intermediate School Board. And so really this is to inform you all that today was the filing deadline for individuals who wanted to show interest in the KISD School Board. We will meet again, so you all have an overview. There are 3 trustees who are returning or hoping to return. And then there is also a seat for an individual who was appointed. He would like to finish out the rest of that term, and he also has someone else who would like to contend for that. So the information is here for you to review. When we meet again, we will discuss which candidate we will support, and then we will create a resolution stating that in our next board packet, you'll receive bios for those 2 individuals so that we can make that determination. And the last discussion item is just about that special board meeting that is happening on May 13th. It is regarding the interim superintendent application, so we will have time to review those internal applicants. And we will also add to that agenda the reviewing the language for the search firm that will help us move into the superintendent search, so that RFP. Is there any discussion or any input on either of those items? Okay, we do have some public comment for non-agenda items.
We do. If Mr. Johnson and Kim.
Fatma, say that correctly? And we can have him speak first and ask her to complete the poll.
Say good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, you're gonna, if you can state your name, please, and you're gonna have 3 minutes to be able to
3 minutes?
talk.
Okay. My name is, originally my name is Keith Asante, but I was adopted. You got me down as Irving Johnson. My children's last name are Asante. Okay, so you giving me 3 minutes?
Correct.
Okay. I'm French Jamaican. I'm an orphan in this country, so all I got is me and my kids. I'll make this very quick. I'm a single parent, raising them alone. And I'm also, well, like I said, I'm an orphan. I've been on my own since 14, okay? I grew up on the streets.
Excuse me, sir. You may want to move the microphone in front of you.
Sorry. I said, I've been on my own since 14. I had a hard life. I grew up on the streets. Hello, Mr. Flores. You were my teacher in Burton Junior High School. I love you and I missed you. How are you? We used to tease him so much. I love him so much. And you were a big influence to me, too, to continue my education. I'm an ex-con, did 7 years. I still got my bachelor's, a BS. I was pursuing my PhD, but I wanted to pursue a PhD, but my son has breathing problems, so I'm gonna study respiratory therapy for him. I'm a retired bodybuilder, and I'm also ordained minister and a practicing monk and a vegan. Say this, I'm raising my children alone. I have them in Burton, I have them in Brookside. I've been encountering constant problems with calls to CPS that are uncalculated. I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm saying I see an abuse of the system. I see where there have, for instance, my Marine father, my Jamaican father, who served his country proudly 3 tours of Vietnam. An administrator at Brookside said that my father was at my house visiting and watched my children in the shower and in the bathtub. My father hasn't been in Michigan in over 11 years, and my oldest son is 9. It never happened. I also was foretold that I've been putting my hands on my children because I used to box and be a bodybuilder. I never had this, never any bruises. My daughter has had a feeding tube, an enlarged heart, gastrointestinal problems, and bowel blockage. My eldest son has reactionary airway disease. He's in the hospital at least twice a month. Between these 2 children here, I've had over 27 physician and hospital visits in the past 4 years since I've lived in the neighborhood where I am now. And of any claim of me being an inappropriate parent by people that are filing against me, and there's one particular person in particular over at Brookside, and she's an administrator, and the principal's doing a great job. She's a wonderful person. And these 2 have nearly died time and again. I have a stack. I have a question about their attendance. I have a stack here of emergency room release forms and doctor's visits forms from them that attest to their attendance. I also have confirmation of me. My ex-wife is Marie Simon. She works for Bethany Services. I've never abused a child in my life. I have 4 grown children who are adults with their own families and are thriving very heavily. I have no children in jail, prison, prisons, drugs, or anything else. And they all have vibrant lives. They work and have a home and families. I've never one time in my life ever had a CPS complaint until I went to Brookside. And I filed a complaint on somebody that works in the front office, and she hates the hell out of me. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying incidents have started coming from the school towards me. I call these 2.
About a minute.
I call these 2 youngest my twins, okay? I've suffered a lot. Just a few days ago, I'll make this quick. CPS worker knocks on my door. They cornered my daughter in the office and said, "Is your father hitting you? Is your father beating you?" Now, remember, I used to box and be a bodybuilder. However, my children have never had a mark. And with over 300 medical personnel that have viewed my children over the course of the past 4 and 5 years, especially with their chronic health, life-altering illnesses, not one has ever filed a complaint against me as being an inappropriate parent or anything else. It's the opposite of that. I'm fully
You can make your final comments, please.
Huh?
Your final comments, please.
My final comments are, I see an abuse of the system because I'm seeing people who are not seeing what's going on with children, and they're jumping the gun and calling and calling and calling. I also see that I've had a conflict with an administrator. I brought it to the
knowledge of someone. She stepped into it, commented on that person, told them not to bother me again, whatever else, but they still continually bother me. But I'll take that up with her tomorrow. But what I want you guys to know now is that a system that's put in place to help children, to help families, is actually, this is being used, and it's actually traumatizing my children because of people asking them and coming knocking on my door. I'm a security specialist. I'm law enforcement affiliated. I do consultation work with Grand Rapids PD. GRPD knows me. I've worked in the field. I volunteered in the CLEAR program for ex-cons and so forth. So my record is exemplary, okay?
Thank you.
This is what's going on. My children are angry, they're hurt, and they're traumatized, especially after what they went with their mother. I have full custody of my children. So it's been a hard road the past 4 or 5 years, especially with both their illnesses. His is lifelong, period. It will kill him in certain environments. Hers, she still has bowel blockage, and she has to wear special pads. So I'm in attendance to my kids 24 hours. I haven't slept in 2 days because my son coughs in his sleep. I have to get up and give him breathing treatment and watch him and monitor him all night. I'm very tired. I'm a little bit angry and a little bit hurt and salted, but I see the system is being used the way it shouldn't be used. Somebody should tell these teachers or these substitutes, you really need to look for it. Get with the principal, get with the nurse, get with the school counselor, psychologist.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Okay? But you got what I'm saying, though.
Yep.
Yes,
It's
thank you,
being
Mr.
abused.
Johnson.
Thank you.
It's being abused. And it's hurting my family.
Beautiful children.
Thank you for your time.
Beautiful children. Have a good evening, Mr. Johnson. Thank you.
My daughter wants to say something. Can she say something? Go ahead, baby. Go ahead.
Miss Nina, she is holding my family, and I do, but it's holding me. She is holding my papa and Kijan and Huggy, and I am not liking it. So that's why she's making me mad. So that's why I'm not liking her anymore.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Come on, babies. I will say, if I may, real quick.
All right, brother.
This was my teacher. How are you, brother?
Very good, very good.
You want to be in bien? Tu famille bien?
Bien. Gracias.
Ms. Fatma?
They all grow up, don't they?
Thank you, people.
Good night.
Good night. Goodbye.
Oh, by the way, I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you.
Hi, you'll have 3 minutes if you can state your name, please.
My name is Kim Fatma. I teach special education, and I've taught for Grand Rapids for 16 years. I currently teach at Burton Middle School in the Level 3 program. I've always wanted to be a teacher. I joined the military, spent 4 years of my life because I wanted to be a teacher. They would help me pay for it. I put myself through school as a single mom with small children because I wanted to be a teacher. Over the past 16 years, I've had the honor to teach, get to know, and understand so many kids. However, teaching special education comes with a huge price. I started in this district at Ottawa Hills High School teaching 5 different classes, which contractually cannot even be done to a general education teacher. That alone is a very challenging position to be put in. Now imagine that I was given no materials, no supplies, no curriculum, and no support whatsoever. I was given nothing. I quickly realized that if my students were going to learn anything, I was going to have to provide everything for them on my own. And unfortunately, in 16 years, that hasn't changed. On top of that, the paperwork that special educators are expected to do, are responsible for, is increasingly insurmountable and continues to grow each year. Due to the fact that GRPS gives us 0 time to complete this work during the school day, last year I spent over 400 hours at home just to keep my head above water. All of this without compensation and without help from my special ed supervisors or administration. Is it any wonder that dozens of teachers, passionate, amazing teachers, are burning out? If we truly want our students to succeed, we need to be allowed to teach. But I saw the writing on the wall, and I knew I wouldn't be able to keep doing this forever. So I went back, got my master's degree in reading with a reading specialist certification, which permits me to continue teaching, but just outside its special education. A reading position became available for the next school year. I applied for it. My principal, Ms. Perez, recommended me for the job. Unfortunately, instead of allowing me to teach students who could greatly benefit from my decade and a half of experience in teaching reading, a faceless committee chose to, without a word to me or my principal, force me back into a position I'm burned out in. I'm just one of many disenfranchised teachers that have been treated with such utter disregard that many are not only looking at teaching in a different district, they're looking at leaving the field completely.
You have about a minute. Thanks.
One more sentence. So many people believe that we're leaving the district because of money. It's so much more than that. We're leaving the district because we're not being treated well. It's a travesty to our GRPS students. So many fantastic teachers are being pushed away or out of the profession entirely. Thank you for listening to me. This is just one story. There's so many more.
Thank you.
No comment.
Dr. Flores?
It is certainly wonderful to see former students and how they grow up and become part of our society. And I think that's one of the joys and one of the loves and motivators in teaching. And I would like to see our district continue to produce students that value learning, that are highly motivated, and highly successful. And so I would hope that all of our decisions center on that, and that we choose an effective leader in this process to guide us on an interim basis. I hope that the community continues to be engaged and vigilant in this process, and I hope that we continue to be transparent and also exhibit the honesty and the integrity that this process requires.
Ms. Davis?
No comment tonight.
No comment.
Mr. Ross?
Just another shout out, even though they left, just thinking about all the students, the veteran faculty, the athletes, the alumni, just the things that were celebrated tonight. It really just felt good to do a lot of celebrating. The bond dollars, but no, just really wanted to highlight those things and just remind myself of the good things going on.
Ms. Shockey?
I just wanted to share an event with the community that I've been honored to be a part of. I've been serving on the Grand Rapids Racial Equity Initiative led by Dr. Bill Pink of GRCC and Mayor Rosalind Bliss of the City of Grand Rapids. And as part of that work, we've partnered with Grand Rapids Public Schools for a hiring event this Thursday at Innovation Central High School. So we have nearly 40 employers who are coming to work with our juniors and seniors on either summer employment or launching their career in our city. And additionally, we'll be opening that up to the community from 4 to 7 p.m. And so if there are job seekers out there looking for a new position or a position at all, we'd love for you to come to Innovation Central from 4 to 7 to speak with employers. What's unique about this event is that employers will be hiring on the spot. And so they are prepared to offer jobs there or at least take your application and schedule an interview. Thank you.
Thank you. Reverend Matisse?
Yeah, just hearing our robotics team and thinking of the amount of students that have graduated from this school district and have done phenomenal things. I don't think we do enough to pat ourselves on the back in terms of producing folks that have transformed our nation, literally. And so I challenge us to look back through history and see those that have graduated from this place and to see what they've done and what they're doing. So really appreciate that.
Ms. Williams? No comment.
I want to congratulate all of the students who were here for their athletic accomplishments as well as their academic accomplishments. I'd like to thank all of the teachers and the coaches and the people who work with them, because I know that is a huge job, and it is so important that our students have many different opportunities to be successful. And last, I'd like to compliment Julie Anderson and Dana Beal, because during this process that we went through as far as hiring a new superintendent, I don't think any two people worked harder than those two people. Everything that we needed was ready for us when we arrived. They were copying things and printing things off and running them down to us as the interviews were taking place. And we're always lucky to have these two women in the district, but I think the last 6 months or 5 months, we've been very, very lucky to have them.
No comment. Meeting adjourned.